All right. Well, we are back with Dr. Katie. And Dr. Katie, we have another question for you.
Oh, boy.
Well, I know that we send out notices every 6 months for something called an intestinal parasite exam.
Yes.
And every 6 months seems like frequent. So what is that, and why is that so important?
Well, the intestinal parasite exam, which is otherwise affectionately known as the fecal, is very important.
That's why we tell them to bring a poopogram?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, yeah, we'll take poop in any form, any style, any kind, any bag. Please don't bring it in food bags, though, because then we get our hopes up and it turns out to be poop and we're upset. Godiva chocolate
Yuck.
bags are very sad, for sure. But part of the problem with living in Florida, and I love Florida, I've been down here since '98 and it's just fabulous, and I love the South, but we have a lot of creepy crawlies down here. And two of the nastiest little creepy crawlies that we have are hookworms and roundworms. And the problem with hookworms and roundworms is they're absolutely contagious to you and your kids. So obviously we only want you guys to share love between you and your dog and nothing else. Especially where children are concerned, we really worry about roundworms and hookworms because you can have diseases in kids ranging from a simple rash on the bottom of the feet, the old ground itch that we used to talk about, all the way to blindness. Worms can actually cause blindness in children. So we like to check dogs every 6 months.
Worms can cause blindness. Now wait a minute. Does that actually, they can or they do?
They do. They do cause blindness in children, not all the time, but there's a condition that's called ocular larval migrans, and it happens when kids run across roundworms by accident. And I know this is gross, but that's one of the reasons dogs don't get allowed to go on the beach, because when dogs defecate and that poop dissolves, those eggs are still there in the soil, and they can stay in the soil for years. Well, if children are playing in the soil, like in playgrounds, or at parks, or in your backyard, if for some reason they rub their mouth and they ingest some of these eggs that are invisible to the naked eye, those worms are not in the right host. They want to be in a dog or a cat. They don't want to be in your child, so they start wandering around looking for somewhere to go. I know that sounds really disgusting, but it's the truth. And sometimes those worms can actually get up into the retinal area of a child's eye. They've actually had about 500 to 600 cases of blindness in children a year due to intestinal parasites.
In the United States?
In the United States.
Wow.
That's not in some third world country. That's right here in the U.S. So
okay, so these are nasty little things.
These are nasty. I actually have a friend of mine that is a doctor that's blind in one eye because of ocular larval migrans.
Wow.
So
okay.
I take this very seriously. I think any mom out there should. And so what we do is we check fecals every 6 months, because a lot of dogs that are carrying around a pretty small burden of worms, a small amount of worms, may not show any clinical signs at all. So if that's the case, then what we do is we check to make sure that they don't have something there that's hidden that could cause a problem.
Okay, so what other complications, and you said that a dog can carry a small burden, so are there complications for your pet also? Obviously there's some scary stuff with us as far as humans go, but what's the impact for your pet?
Usually worms cause the biggest problems in puppies because puppies are little, and so if they have a lot of blood suckers in there, and that can really make them anemic. It can make them vomit and diarrhea and all those kinds of things. Usually if I see a big older dog with parasites, we don't see as many signs, although sometimes hookworms can cause, or roundworms can cause bloody diarrhea. They can cause anemia. They can cause on and off gastrointestinal issues like vomiting. So even with an older, bigger dog, it's important to check and make sure they don't have anybody along for the ride that could be potentially a problem.
Okay, so the bottom line is we're doing this test every 6 months, mostly though due to the zoonotic risk. It sounds like.
And zoonotic is a term that we use that means a disease that can be transferred from a pet to a person, like rabies, like hookworms. So we check to make sure that everybody is safe and that there isn't any problem with sleeping in bed with your pet, which is what we do. So.
And just so we're clear, tell us again, as far as humans go, you mentioned ground itch and then this problem, the ocular larval migrans, but what other issues can people have from these worms?
Well, they can cause gastrointestinal disease in people. They estimate maybe up to 10,000 people a year get worms and don't even know it, which I know that's incredibly gross too, but it happens. They can cause signs of inflammatory bowel disease. Crohn's
Okay.
disease, things like that. And so,
Okay.
again, that's one of the reasons that, especially here at this veterinary hospital, we are very, very active in trying to identify these parasites and get rid of them so they're not posing a risk to humans or the animals that love them.
Okay, super. With Dr. Katie, we thank you very much for your time.
All right, thanks.
Have a nice weekend.
Oh, yes. I'm going to Disney this weekend, so I'm very excited.